and he was a private first class. He was active from 1942 to 1946. He started when he was 17. He started in the United States, and he trained in the United States and went to England, where he trained, and then he went to Normandy and went through Europe and France, Belgium, Luxembourg, Germany, Austria, and Czechoslovakia. He liberated a camp in Austria. I have a little recording of what he did. I talked to him 2 weeks ago on a conference call with my mom, so you'll hear my mom and my uncle and me. So here's a few minutes of it.
Well, my job was, initially I was a machine gunner in an infantry company. And then they assigned me to 3rd Battalion headquarters of the 328th Infantry Division, infantry regiment, which was part of the 26th Infantry Division. And I was what they call a forward scout, recon scout. My job was to go ahead of, infiltrate ahead of the infantry companies and either bring back prisoners or bring back information concerning the enemy's positions. And that was my job. I was wounded 3 times, twice during the Battle of the Bulge, and once when we were going into Czechoslovakia. And let's see, what else you want to know? You're interested primarily in the liberation, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, we first ran across that in Austria, Linz, Austria. That was the Mauthausen concentration camp, which was also called the Hermann Goering Works. And it was a massive undertaking there. They had work camps, and then they had extermination camps. And so we liberated that. And then we proceeded on to Czechoslovakia from Linz, Austria. And met with the Russian soldiers in Pilsen.
I wouldn't even have an idea how you liberate a concentration.
How you liberate?
Yeah, like what did you do?
Well, I was one of thousands of, of soldiers, as you know. But my particular outfit, we actually broke into some of the gates at the Mauthausen facility, and the prisoners were there. I mean, some of them were dead, some of them were alive, some of them were starving. It was just one massive humanity that was just maltreated. And it was one of those things that we had to, we didn't know what the hell we were looking at, to be honest with you. We weren't, our upper echelon, our officers, our headquarters, nobody knew what we were seeing. We thought it was initially a prisoner of war camp. But when we broke through, we just didn't know what we were looking at. And we didn't know how to handle it, to be honest with you. So the first thing we did was we were trying to feed people, and we were told not to feed them because they hadn't eaten, and if you give them too much food, they would have choked to death or they would have died. So with the Red Cross and the Medical Corps, they came up and they started to take care of these people. But it was just one mass of humanity that was maltreated. Some were starving, all bones and skin, and some of them, I mean, just the piles of dead bodies. And it was really something to see. Our commanding officer went into the city of Linz and grabbed a bunch of people and brought them out, and they made them make coffins for a lot of the people, and they pulled them out of holes and out of buildings, just bodies, and they put them into caskets, makeshift caskets, and buried them. Some of them they took away, and then this is all over a period of maybe a week or so. but we were pulled out after about 4 or 5 days, and we had to resume our fighting. We had, this was just one place that we stopped. But it was quite something to see, because the main thing is we didn't know what we were looking at. We were young kids, and our officers were young, and we weren't properly indoctrinated into what we would find. Of course, nobody really knew what we would find anyway, but that's the way it was.
So that's what he had to say. A little bit more about my uncle. He was missing in action in the Battle of the Bulge for 5 days. He has 2 or 3 Purple Hearts, a Gold Star, and he was a disabled veteran. Something he said later in the interview, if you want the full interview, it's 20 minutes. I can share with you a link if you want to listen to that. He said when he got out of the Army, he was a little trigger happy and had to go to the VA hospital because if someone touched him, he would, and quote, fly off the walls because of his experiences in Europe. He's been awarded medals from the French, Belgium, and Luxembourg government, and he's coming back at the end of April with some of the Massachusetts National Guard to see some of the battle sites where he was, and he said that he thinks he's going to be honored again in Luxembourg and Czechoslovakia. And every year he has to check in at the Holocaust Memorial in Boston and Washington, D.C.
תודה רבה, ג'ונתן. Guys, all of your stories